Hi.
Well, thank you guys for having me. I guess my job is to replace Woody Rickerson. He was going to be here tonight or today with you guys. Unfortunately, Woody couldn't make it. He had a family emergency that he had to address, so y'all got me. I've been at ERCOT since 2006 and helped run the grid operations, have been in what is grid coordination right now. That kind of sits in between our planning department, so thinking about the future, and the operations department. And actually got a chance to come in here just a little bit early and catch some lunch. And I heard some of the folks here that were talking about pitching some of their ideas. So I think it was inspirational for me to see all the young people that are working on new ideas for the grid. But I came here to really kind of set the table for you guys. I think you just said, imagine what we can do. Hopefully I'll show you some of the things that I didn't imagine that we could get done at ERCOT and where we are now. But I think this conference, hopefully you guys will help us imagine new ways to get further down the road with the adoption of all the different types of technology we have coming to the state. Okay. So I'll just give you a little background real quick. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this right here yet, but just for you that don't know, ERCOT is the market operator for the ERCOT interconnection. We are responsible for system reliability, running the competitive market, open access, and competitive retail, so you can switch your electric provider here in this state. We're a nonprofit organization. Most of you guys are familiar with other ISOs and RTOs. We have a similar function, and we don't own any of the equipment, the generation or the transmission or the distribution, but we're integral into trying to make that all work efficiently. So I kind of covered this, but the light blue is the ERCOT region. There's a long story. We have not enough time for me to cover how we got to this point, but suffice it to say that the entire interconnection is in that blue. We have some connections to Mexico and to the Eastern Interconnection through DC ties. We're about 90% of the load in the state, and that just keeps growing at about 75% of the land. Our recent peak was 85 gigawatts just this last summer. About 54,000 miles of transmission. That's always growing, and about 1,250 megawatts, or 1,250 different types of units in the state. Electricity 101, where our biggest job is continuously, 365 days of the year, matching the demand of the state. And I was telling somebody, you know, February of 2011 was a very interesting year. We had one of the coldest weather events in February, and then in that summer, we had like 90 days over 100 degrees. So it's a challenging weather environment. Suffice it to say, though, some of the things that we've done early on do help us. 1 megawatt of generation can help you balance to get back to 60 hertz, but additionally, 1 megawatt of load can help you do that same thing. And early on in ERCOT's history, we've had loads that participate in our market that we use as demand response. I'm not sure if everybody knows how our state peak demand is set, but generally in Texas, obviously, we're driven by the weather, and we've traditionally had a summer peaking system. If you look at this, all the records that we had, 2022, 2023, they're all set in the summertime. But we are starting to see increased peak demands in the winter as well. So going back to where I started on this, how have things changed? What were some of the things that I couldn't have imagined that we are now doing today? So back when we started the market, we had primarily natural gas plants, coal plants, and nuclear plants, and our load was about 57 gigawatts. If you look today, that's changed quite dramatically. We've cut about 20% off of the gas. Wind has picked that up. Coal has backed down over half, and we're now seeing a big increase in solar generation to set that 85 gigawatt peak demand just last summer. So that's a big change, and it took a good amount of time to get that accomplished. And it's a pretty large load increase, and we're not seeing that change. I will tell you, we're seeing more. If you just drove to my office over in Taylor, Texas, you would see a huge chip manufacturer going in right in Taylor, Texas. You see the car manufacturing that's moved into Austin. There's all kinds of load coming into the state, and we're serving it with a more diverse portfolio of generation. Talking about the renewables, here's kind of some stats for you on just how much we're talking about. We have about almost 40 gigs of wind, and we've got 22 of solar. We just went through the recent solar eclipse here in this area, and we managed that, I would say, better than we even hoped. We had a lot more solar on the system than we thought we would have by this time. I think we were thinking we would have somewhere around 12 gigawatts of solar, and we passed that quite significantly. And combined, we've served the state energy, the max penetration with renewables at 75%. So those are all things, if you told me 20 years ago, I'd be up here talking to you today. I don't think I would have predicted that. So it took a lot to imagine how to get here. Where are we going? This is the interconnection queue in the state. And as you can see, we've got it's really grown a lot. We might have had 100 projects in the queue at one point. We're at 17, almost 1,800 projects being proposed in the queue, about 350 gigawatts of capacity in the queue. Primarily, it's solar and batteries. And a lot of people are talking about batteries being the new technology. I was on a nuclear submarine, and we had a battery. So I see it as using that technology for the benefit of the grid. That's something that I think I've seen years ago. So I'm glad to see batteries starting to come up and be a part of the grid. As far as distributed generation, I looked at y'all's agenda, and I think tomorrow y'all have some discussions that will be about distributed generation. ERCOT's been working on distributed generation since about 2019. We have a concept of a distributed generation resource. Right now, we're seeing a lot of projects. Probably we have over 50 projects of small batteries that are on the distribution system, but they're actually participating in our market, and they're providing services. So that's a growing area. Also, rooftop solar. This is just a trend, and you can see the rooftop solar has really started taking off. Of course, it's hot in Texas. We've got a lot of sun, and we've got a lot of opportunity to offset the load at each home. Population growth. Texas has always been an area that I think has had potential to grow, but we're starting to see more and more businesses and people moving in. And so we expect to continue to see a huge population growth, just a residential. All those folks probably want to have electric vehicles at some point. I can tell you that I just got back from a trip in Europe at the end of last summer, and every Uber that I took over there was an electric vehicle. It's not that way here today, but I think that's probably where we will be seeing things go. A lot more use of electric vehicles, and in fleets specifically. This is a topic that I'm not going to spend a lot of time on, but it's a growing area, and it's what's driving a lot of the load in the state. We've got a task force right now we call the Large Flexible Load Task Force. This is one of those things that I would tell you that we didn't imagine early on, but we've got over 40 gigawatts that is requesting to connect in this state of large load. By large load, we classify that as 75 megawatts or greater. And some of these loads are 1 gigawatt or more. So that's the scale of
Who are those requesters? What are those requesters?
yeah, okay, I'll go into that. So in this bucket, it's comprised of, some of it is crypto mining. We're seeing some of the crypto mining coming in. AI data centers, that's a large group of this. We're also seeing hydrogen or ammonia production. So there's a variety of different types of load that are coming in, and they're significantly large. If you look at just what we've approved to energize, that I think it's about 4 gigawatts for 2023. That, to give you perspective, is about the size of the city of Austin or San Antonio's load. So one city moving into the state wanting to connect in a very short time frame worth of load. Now this is spread out across the system, but that's a pretty large increase on its own. So I would just tell you guys, there are things that probably if I would have told you in 2006 that was going to happen, you wouldn't believe me. But that's what's going on, and I think there's a lot of opportunity with all of that going on. And there's a lot of opportunity for the folks in this room to think about how we can imagine to accomplish a majority of this. It's going to take a lot in the infrastructure, in the policy, in the technology, and those are things that I think you guys all want to talk about during this conference. So I wanted to make a point of that. I think you've probably heard that there's discussions about interconnecting with other grids. ERCOT has actually been looking at that for quite a long time. I think it's been a question about what does it take to connect to that other grid. So just building that connection and keeping it stable is one part of it. How far can you transfer the energy? Can you actually get the energy from the other grid all the way to you when you need it, and vice versa? So there's those kind of implications. What we've seen historically is the direct current ties that we have are kind of the quicker solutions that can come in, and they don't significantly change the way we operate on either side. So I think those probably have the most potential. And I think the last thing, I did talk to some young folks over here that are working on technology. ERCOT's trying to adopt technology as best we can. We've revamped our website. There's a lot of good information out there on the ERCOT website as far as these types of reports and trends about how our grid's changing. We've got a mobile app for folks so that they can stay in tune in real time, be a little bit more transparent. And we've got an application where folks can sign up and be notified whenever there's some sort of potential risk that we might be challenged with as far as the weather goes. So we're trying to get a little bit more interaction. I think I talked to somebody in the back, and they said that they didn't know what ERCOT was until we had the winter storm. And I think maybe that was unfortunate, because we've been working pretty hard to try to get to where we are today. And I think it's taken a lot of smart, young, educated folks to come to ERCOT to help us with those things, and in the industry itself. So I think that's everything that I had to kick you guys off. Is there any question? I know that was quick. Yep, go ahead. I think what we're trying to do is more educate them on our role, and then what's going on in the state. That, you know, we can be a source where public information could be available. We make a lot of our reports and information available. There's dashboards on our website, and I see I'm not sure if you're from here, but if you wake up in the morning and there's like some bad weather coming on, I usually hear on the news they're using our website, showing some of the information that we have in those reports. So I think it's slowly starting to work where people know to go to ERCOT and get their answers.
Cool, thank you.
All right. Any other questions? All right, there's a bunch. I'll just take you because I can.
Garrett with S&P Global. I was just wondering what ERCOT is doing to kind of manage like the influx of data centers with connected. Are you working with utilities directly, or are you working with some of the hyperscalers to help to connect to the grid and keep things reliable?
We are. We kicked off this process of, I would call it an interim process. We're trying to work on getting some rules approved so that we can finalize and move that into our rule set. But really, as we started seeing that chart that I showed with the 39 gigawatts, we originally did a survey to the utilities and we thought it was about 12. And as we had our first meeting, it had already moved up to almost 18 gigawatts. And we just keep seeing more and more. So we've tried to build some rules in to help the utilities file with us so we can do the reliability part of this and then let them move forward at the pace that they want to get connected. So what we hope is that we will move this into the, kind of the similar process that we do for large generators getting connected, and we can streamline that. And I will just put a plug in. I'm not patting myself on the back, but I think ERCOT did get some recognition as being one of the faster interconnections for generators. So hopefully that will be the same case for these loads. All right? I don't know if I'm over time, but okay. Well, I just want to say thank you guys again for coming to Austin.